Hey guys, this is Wenley from drawingforce.com, and in this video I'm going to do a short drawing demo of this pose that you see on the screen. The first thing that I do is take a couple of seconds to just observe and understand what's going on. I can see that she has a strong bend in her back, and there's a lot of energy going from her back into her arms, always like she was pressing down on something, and of course, her right leg is supporting most of the weight, like she's really leaning all her weight onto that onto her right leg, and her left leg is working as more like a secondary support. So in force drawing, the main thing we look for, the main function of the body we look for is balance. Balance, of course, relative to gravity. So first of all, I will start with a clear torso, and then I will draw the limbs that support that torso mass, in this case, both of her legs. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I go for, the first idea is a strong curve of her back. And I wonder if it works as an S or a C. I think her torso, it seems to be working as an S curve. Seems to be doing this. Force comes from her back into her abdomen, and then it's wrapping around her pelvis, and you have like this little straight movement at the back. And I'll just go with my first impression and see if it works. You know, sometimes it does, sometimes I discover that the 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 model was not, the body wasn't working like I initially thought it was working. Okay, so I start to add a little bit of structure into her lower torso. I start drawing the pelvis to be more specific. So this is the hip bone closest to us, and I also try to visualize the hip bone at the farther side and what's the angle between those two. And by visualizing the hip bone on the farther side, it allows me to understand how her right leg fits into that. It helps me to make sure the placement of my lines makes structural sense, that I'm not just placing lines randomly based on what I think that I see, but that it actually corresponds to the figure's anatomical structure. So her leg has this front, let me see, I think I would need a layer on top to make it clearer. And let me also grab another color. So yeah, her leg has this front to back rhythm, right? Which then goes into the top of her foot and then into her big toe. So I'm observing that. I'm observing and most importantly, I'm drawing it. I'm drawing this front to back rhythm. Like to go to wrap around the ankle, and then force comes from the back of her calf into the top of her foot and shoots out from her big toe, and then you have the directional force of her heel. And I pay attention to the angle of her foot, and I try to be accurate with that. Okay, so I have the first pillar of support for her torso. Then I go into the next one. Let me move this just a little bit. Okay, her left leg, of course, also needs to fit properly into her pelvis structure. Force is coming from the front into her knee, and this leg seems to work as one curve at the front, and then it hits that heel and creates a rhythm. Now, rhythm is two connected directional forces. You can see this directional force is applying energy to the next curve, and then it applies energy to the next curve. It continues and it creates this pattern that it creates, we call rhythm. Okay, so let's get back to the drawing. So force comes from the front and it continues at the front. And into her heel, and I can see that the placement of the foot is a bit off in my drawing. So let's see why it is. And again, you don't have to get everything right in at the first try. If you see something's off, then just correct it. That's why we teach our students to don't just draw the pose once, but draw the same pose several times. You draw it one time, and then you compare it to the model or to the photo reference in this case, and then you take notes of what you need to correct, and then you do another drawing and you make those corrections. Like in this instance, I can see the placement of her feet are off in my drawing, so I'm looking to see where I went wrong with it. And I think it's because the angle of her left lower leg is a bit off. I think it needs to be a bit more diagonal. So what I will do is I will reduce the opacity of this drawing, and I will just draw on a layer on top to make the correction. Let's see if it works front to back. Let's see if this works better. Maybe that was the problem, why it was off. So force comes from the back of the calf into the top of the foot, and then it connects to the toes. Then you have the force of her heel. Yeah, I think this works better. This front to back rhythm works better than having one curve at the front. Let's redraw this leg and see if we can improve it. I can see there is a lot of uh, tension or pressure on that heel as it supports her weight. So I show that by using a darker line in that area. See, let's sculpt the mass of her farther thigh. And now that I'm recording, it seems that my computer is lagging a little bit. Okay, let's see. Let's redraw that hip. Yeah, this seems to work much better. Let me connect her feet with a straight line. And yeah, this is a bit closer to what's going on in the photo. There is a lot of applied force on. Let me grab another color here. There is a lot of applied force, like pushing on her back. And again, that's the idea that I'm going for in my drawing. Oops, I switch back to the right color. And I'm drawing to study and to understand what's going on. I'm not concerned about making any kind of beautiful drawing. You know, this is just my initial analysis of the pose. And as I continue refining the drawing and clarifying it and understanding it more, then the beauty will be a byproduct of how clear my analysis is of the pose. Okay, so force coming from the back into her shoulder and into her arms. Okay, I think I will have to make this a little bit smaller. Oh wait, of course I have to grab both layers then. Let's see, I think this should do the job. Okay, so force is coming from her back into her arms and hand. And all I'm drawing now are those force curves. I'm not going into any great amount of detail. First of all, I need to get my drawing to work like the reference works. Got the other hand and the fingers on that side. And I need more applied force on her back. Like it's bending more. And if I'm preoccupied with making a beautiful drawing, it can hinder my analysis and my learning because all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I don't want to draw all these lines, what I drew was looking so beautiful. I don't want to ruin it, but I don't care about that now. I know I can always do another pass and clean things up if necessary. So force, let me get rid of this arrow. Okay, so I have the torso mass and I have its main supports, which are her legs in this case. So then I went into drawing the arms and then I add the head and neck, like all this force is driving from her back and hitting into her face. And the neck, of course, is an extension of the spine and it fits at the bottom of her cranium. I think her face needs to come down a bit lower. So I'm looking for this relationship, like force is coming from her back into her face, which also creates a rhythm, just like we have here. And notice that I keep going over the pose as a whole several times to keep checking if everything connects through rhythm. I think her arms would need to be slightly longer. Like if I look at the photo, it's like they're just below the knee. So they would even be a bit longer. And notice again that I'm not preoccupied with any kind of beautiful drawing at this stage. I'm using drawing to analyze and understand what's going on. And I keep evaluating, does my drawing work like the reference? Does it feel the same? Do I feel the same amount of energy and effort that the figure is actually putting in the action? Did I manage to capture that in my drawing? And if not, what do I need to change in order for that to be the case? All right. So again, start with a clear torso, understand its action, and then proceed to drawing the limbs that are supporting its weight. In a standing pose, it would be one leg or both legs, like in this case, and then draw the arms and the neck and head. Those are secondary. So draw based on the hierarchy, order of importance. What needs to come first, and what's second, what's third, etc. Okay, guys, I hope this gave you some good insights on how to start a pose, how to analyze a pose, and it's this kind of approach that equips you with the necessary knowledge, necessary understanding for you to invent believable poses from imagination. If all you do is just copy the photograph, well, once we take the photograph away, then you have nothing to build off of. You have no understanding to draw your own poses, your own ideas for your characters or for your figures. Okay, so don't be concerned with beautiful drawings at the beginning. Draw to understand, draw to analyze and to understand. And the beauty will be a byproduct as your understanding of the human figure increases. All right, guys, thank you for watching. And um, just if you're interested, we are doing Force Fridays every Friday, obviously on our YouTube channel, I think it's Force with Michael Matesi. So you can join us there every Friday. And of course, if you missed the previous sessions, you can just watch the recordings. But of course, it's much more fun to be with us live, and you can also submit work for us to review and give you feedback. And one last thing is that I am also available for mentorship on drawingforce.com. I have a couple of students already. I still have some limited spots left in my schedule for mentorship. So if you're interested in me helping you to improve your figure drawing and character design skills, feel free to join, of course. And if you have any questions regarding that, you can send me a message or maybe just leave your question in the comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.